Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brian, and if you're new here, welcome. And in today's video, we are going to try and recreate this look. So thank you so much to Narrative Cosmetics for sponsoring this video. So without further ado, watch me go from this to this. So to start with, we are going to block our brows. So if you don't know how to block your brows, I did an in-depth video on my previous tutorial. So go check that out, and I will be right back. I'm back in a browser block, so now we are going to cover our hair. I'm going to use a bald cap for this one. You don't have to, because we really don't need the bald cap to be perfect on this one. You can also use a saran wrap just to like cover your hair, but just leave your ears out because we are going to apply a prosthetic ears after, just like this one right here. And I'm going to use this angled brush, angled adhesive brush from Narrative Cosmetics. I love this one because it could get into the little crevices just like your ears. I'm just applying the Narrative Cosmetic adhesive on the prosthetic itself and as well as on my ears. It's easier when you pinch your prosthetic ears and then apply it that way onto your ears. It will also prevent it from sticking and closing the prosthetic ears. See? And then this one, this prosthetics, I actually made this one myself. I will be attaching the tutorial on this one at the end of the video, so stay tuned. I'm using the large adhesive brush and then the Narrative Cosmetics adhesive to apply these prosthetics. It is very easy to apply these prosthetics because it is also lightweight. It is made out of craft foam. A lot of cosplayers does actually use this, so if you want a link on that one, just let me know in the comments down below. And then I'm using just a cardboard to emulate a tree bark, basically. And that's what we want for the headpiece on this one. And earlier, as I've mentioned, you don't have to apply the prosthetics, sorry, the bald cap seamlessly because we are going to be covering that one. Happy dance! So now that the cardboard pieces are attached onto your head, this one is just a clay that is used actually for pottery. I use this one to create texture of the tree onto connecting the cardboard to my face, basically. I want that texture to look like tree bark, basically. So I'm using this technique where I'm using a flat spatula and then I'm basically just doing some vertical lines. I'm doing that on all the cardboard pieces that we attached onto our head, basically. And then onto the sides, I just want it to look like sideburns. So I'm using that one. Same technique, doing the vertical lines. All right, onto the mushrooms, the other mushrooms. So we are going to use the large adhesive brush again and then applying that onto the mushroom on its own and then onto our skin as well, just to create that intact adhesive. Making sure that it's not going to move whenever we move our body, basically. Whenever you're applying this adhesive, make sure that it is dry first or tacky before you attach the mushroom, because if it is still wet, it is not gonna move. It is not gonna stick. I'm actually very impressed with this adhesive because I can also apply it on clay. Whenever I use Prosthetic on clay, it doesn't really adhere properly, so I'm very, very impressed about these adhesives, so definitely worth a try. So next that we're going to do, we are going to fill in the crevices on the prosthetics using a flat, thinner spatula, just like this one here. We're basically just connecting the foam prosthetics onto the skin just so it looks cohesive. So now we are going to do the same technique that we did on the headpiece onto one of the shoulders. Depends on which one you'd like. Mine would be on the right side. And then again, we are going to use the adhesive on that one to attach onto our shoulder. And then again, same technique with a clay. We are going to add more texture onto that cardboard. So now we are going to use airbrush using the Narrative Cosmetics alcohol paint. What I'm doing with this one is I'm basically just diluting the alcohol paint and then adding that onto the airbrush. So basically just make sure to back bubble the airbrush so that you can actually mix all the paint inside the airbrush. You can control how opaque you want it to be by controlling how much paint and how much 99% alcohol you're using. And using airbrush, it honestly makes everything so much easier. You can see here, this is what I use as well on the headpiece, what I'm doing on the shoulder piece here. It's just makes everything so much easier if you have alcohol-based paint and airbrush. Definitely recommend investing on it. So I forgot to put foundation on, so make sure to put foundation on first before you do your airbrushing on the face. I'm using the Tropical Sunset palette from Narrative Cosmetics, and I'm basically just doing almost kind of like a fox eye, but not doing the inner corner, just the outer corner and winging it out. And then basically just blending that in, kind of like a smoky in the outer corner of the eye, just like so. And then I'm using the blade a brush from Narrative Cosmetics to just contour the nose, shaping it and obviously buffing it in and making sure that there's no harsh lines. And then I'm also using a contour palette and a contour brush just to shape the face pretty much. We are going to intensify the contours on the face using the alcohol-based paints later on. I just like using and mapping out the face with a contour brush. If you haven't used an airbrush before, let me know in the comments down below if you guys want a tutorial on how to use an airbrush, because honestly, whenever I use airbrush, it makes everything so much faster. So I highly recommend investing in one, and especially when you're using alcohol-based paints, this is definitely a must in your kit. See how easy I contoured my neck just using the airbrush? It's definitely highly recommended if you don't have an airbrush. And you might be wondering why I'm using alcohol-based paints on my looks. It's just because the finish on the alcohol-based paint is so translucent, so it basically just looks like it's embedded on the skin, especially when I'm doing this texturizing on the skin. What I'm doing right now, I'm doing just like SS on the skin, making it look like it's roots embedded on my skin, and I love this effect so much. So I'm basically just lightening, adding some highlights on the face, and then now we are going to dip in the darkest brown onto the Zombie Palette alcohol paints from Narrative Cosmetics, and I'm adding some details on the face, just like roots coming out and coming into my face. So once you apply that onto your face, don't forget your body as well. It's up to you how much roots you want, how much details you want. So now we are going to add more details. This one I just got from the dollar store. Basically, it's just a plastic plant. This one is actually, it elevates the look for me. This one is one of my favorite things. It's just adding a lot of details. So this one, the moss, actually is also from the dollar store. It's so cheap that you can get from any dollar stores, I'm assuming, or basically like craft stores. So I'm using the adhesive and then the angled brush on this one as well, just to apply the moss. It just looks so pretty when you add these details. Small details can make a huge difference, honestly. So now I'm going to add more details to amp up the look. I'm adding a gold pigment onto the ears and lips and nose as well. Now it's definitely up to you how much more details you want. I also added some gold onto the roots of my face. And basically to finish this look, you can add more details like lashes, contact lenses, and here is the finished look, you guys. It looks so good. So thank you so much to Narrative Cosmetics for sponsoring this video, and this is the moment that you guys have been waiting for, how to make the prosthetic. So I started with my face cast. If you don't have a face cast, that's okay. You can definitely do this onto a balloon. It's the same thing. What I'm using here is basically a foam clay. You can technically get this from dollar stores, depends on where you are. I live in Canada and I get this from dollar store. If you are not around a dollar store, or if you can't find this, I'm pretty sure you can get this from Amazon. It's called foam clay. Crayola does have this product as well. So as you can see here, I'm using a shaping tool to create a mushroom head. I basically just use a popsicle stick to push it out, and then I'm using this pointy tool to create that texture that you can see under a mushroom. So there is this mushrooms that I made from earlier on. So you can freeform this one. You can definitely create your own mushrooms, depends on what kind of mushroom you like, technically. And then this one is how I made the face prosthetic. It's also made out of foam clay. I'm using the face cast now. Again, you can use a balloon for this one. And make sure to spray water onto the foam clay because it gets really sticky. The water helps for the tool to basically glide onto the foam clay, just like this one, what I'm doing here. It is really, really fun to use because it's basically like playing with Play-Doh. that's what I feel like I'm doing here. It's very easy to mold. The advantage on this one as well is that it's very lightweight. When you apply it onto your face, it just feels like you have nothing on. So for the longest time, I've been using like latex prosthetics and cotton, and that one, it just feels sometimes so heavy on the face, but this one looks so much better, and it just feels light on the face. And that's how I do it, you guys. So for painting, I'm basically just using the Narrative Cosmetics alcohol paint and then 99% with airbrush. And that's what I'm using to paint the mushroom. I like using the alcohol-based paint because you can control how opaque you want it to be, just like what we did when we're painting our face earlier on. This one, you can definitely control how opaque and translucent you want it to be. So it's up to you what kind of color of mushroom you want. So it's definitely up to you. And I'm using the toothbrush right now, the splatter brush from Narrative Cosmetics, and then the black, just to add some more details. All right, I hope that you guys learned so much in this tutorial, and let me know what you guys want to learn next. And until then, see you soon. Bye!